you won't be texting and driving with us up in your ride.
I'll just play it. Good evening. Good morning. I did really take a pretty righteous bong rip, though. I'm not gonna lie. It really jacked me up. Like my lungs and my feelings are hurt. Whew, both. Man, I mean, I ripped the biggest, fattest bowl from the bong, the dong dong dong, and it smacked me right in the face.
That's what you get.
I mean, honestly, I wasn't expecting it to do that though. Like I was like, I think I'm still burping up smoke. Oh, that's gross.
You're burping up smoke.
Oh, there it is. There it is. There it
A-
is. Oh, now I'm good. Now it's out.
Amen.
All right. So, you ever swallow the smoke, man? It's really gross.
I can't say that I have.
You know who else is swallowing that smoke? Iran. Okay, probably not the right time for that joke.
Yeah, but so are U.S. bases.
Okay, look, listen. There's a lot to unpack here. You and I were not supposed to have to do this, so we thought, people were going to be, like, well, civilized for that matter.
Yeah.
And we thought that civility would, maybe bring shine, and we would be talking about crazy headlines and funky DNA shit, right? But unfortunately, my good friend, that's not what's going on. Instead, we are here to cover breaking news: America at war. Dum dum dum. Dum
Yeah,
dum
things are
dum. What?
definitely taking a giant 360-degree turn.
Yeah, for a person who I don't even know what to say. Like, dude, like literally, like a little over a year ago, little baby JD, that's what I call him now because I watch South Park. Little baby JD Vance, he, what's the word I'm thinking of? He said that it would be dumb to do this, and yet here we are. And that was only like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, but see, they always say the exact opposite of what they're gonna do.
Well, we're at war, dude.
Yeah, and a legal war.
I'm sorry?
An illegal war.
Potentially.
Oh, come
Potentially,
on.
yes. Because I do understand how the Constitution works in Article 1.
It's Section 8.
It's not just housing, people. Dum-dum.
Yeah,
All
right.
right, so I don't know what to say, bro.
I'm disgusted.
Oh, I just, what do you say? We're literally in a war again. They talk about, oh, this will be quick and sweet and to the point. I'm like, you always see that. War. What is it good for? They got money for war, but can't feed the poor. Like, bro, I can go on for days. We've been poetically pointing this out forever.
We're one of the most
Absolutely
powerful,
nothing. But that jam was real, though. The soul in that. I felt his pain.
one of the most powerful countries in the world, and we can't even take care of our own people, let alone treat them right. And here we are trying to go into other countries and force them to do what's right.
Facts, bruh. So,
Like, shouldn't we get a grip on our own situations first?
I mean, honestly, that might be a good idea too. Yeah, it's such a complicated situation. Okay. Um, and by the way, a couple other updates. The Qatari government has arrested 10 people suspected of links to the Iranians' Revolutionary Guard. Lock it down. Looking to stating that they were assigned to carry out acts of sabotage. So just throwing that out there. Another little thing. Um, there's a lot developing. There's been a lot developing, a lot of bombing and stuff like that. Um, I think that the biggest one is that a ballistic missile had been hurled from Iran into the U.S. military base in Qatar, or not in Qatar, in was it Qatar? No, yeah, it's in Qatar. It's in Qatar. Why am I tripping? Did
Well,
I say that earlier?
yeah, I just found out before the show started that 9 military bases have been hit.
I will tell you though that even with the quality of their ballistic missile, killed no casualties, at least not at this point for the airbase attack.
Yeah, not for the air base attack, but there's been 26 casualties.
100%.
Like, we're throwing our young men and women in harm's way for no reason, or for
Right. And
uh,
also,
maybe
to quote Senator Mark
maybe
Kelly,
not
we don't have an unlimited supply of munitions either. So you can't just throw everything we have in this country at them where you leave us defenseless against somebody as
right,
pathetic as like the Russians.
right. Hmm. And maybe it's not for no reason, but maybe not a very legit reason.
If China attacks somebody or North Korea, and then we're going to have conflict on like 4 of the 7 continents, bro, seriously.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
like a big, that's a problem, man. Like, we don't need
I,
this
I don't,
ish.
I don't think they totally understand like the possibilities of one war type event happening can ignite other ones.
Honestly, dude, I got nothing. I got nothing.
Well,
It's it's
let's talk
complicated.
about
I'll give you that.
Congress.
Look,
Let's talk about Congress. How come Congress wasn't brought into this?
that's fair. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution states that no president shall make war without giving Congress a heads up or whatever. And then after Vietnam stuff, basically, it was like with any because of the covert operations within 48 hours of stuff, you have to um uh, 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 you have to at some point you have to
You have to bring Congress back to session, don't you?
within 48 hours you have to notify Congress that you've taken military action, and then Congress is supposed to come back into session, address the War Powers Act, and decide whether they agree or want to handcuff the president. The problem is too many Republicans believe in keeping us at war. That's just what it is. Look, if you're a Republican, that's fine, but you have to accept the fact that maybe you don't believe in keeping us in war. But that party as a whole, going back 60, 70 fucking years, has really liked keeping us at war even after World War II was over. Um, but hey, it's cool because it's cool for them because it's cool for them. But guess what? The rest of us, I ain't no senator, son. I'm
Yeah,
hitting all
but
the
even if
anti-war songs, just so you know.
ultimately all the Republicans and even some Democrats agree that we should be at war, it's still a decision that should be made by Congress, not by a single man.
Well, uh, what do you? I mean, I mean, what if? What if you could imagine? Come on.
And who's going to hold
Dude, I'm not stopping. I'm doing this the whole night.
him accountable?
I don't know, man.
Or
But
the
the band
Republicans
played
sure
Matilda,
aren't.
Waltz and Matilda. Okay, I'm not gonna, little Bob Dylan. Oh, wait, that was Bob. Was that even Bob Dylan? I don't remember. Okay, so no, all jokes aside, strap in, don a little Black Sabbath, War Pigs, and live your best life. Honestly, at this point, I don't even know what to say, man. Like we what do you say to that? We're at war. Holler. I'm at a loss, man. It's so first off, geopolitically speaking, Christopher, there's a lot more to it, and it's not just as simple as we're at war. First off, let me just take that out there, pull that out. I'm gonna kind of pull up my
Right.
look. I'm gonna pull out my big old fat brain and show you folks that sometimes having a little bit of a reading avidly, just insanely. I send my kids links all the time, and I'm like, listen, I really thought of you when I read this, and it was so profound that I thought I'd share it with you. And don't think I share everything I read with you, because I read 43 articles before just today. This one article was so profound that I sent it for a fucking reason. I read like 30 things and then I'll send. Okay, Mama Bear's probably a little bit more things I read bombarded, but we have a special relationship where she just ignores whatever she doesn't want from me. But I send her stuff I find that I'm like, cool. Like there was the conviction of that one shooter's dad today, and I sent her a link about that when that conviction went through. You know what I mean? It was a school shooter's dad who basically left access to someone who shouldn't have access to a weapon. Done. Game over. People who advocate that dad shouldn't do time in jail, I'd eat you alive in a debate. Case by case, I'll give you that. Any day of the week, Chris. Everything is case by case. That's fair. Because there may be a parent who locked it up. The kid figures out the code. Dude, if you hack my code essentially, right, to get into the gun safe, am I criminally negligent, or are you criminally liable yourself? Do you get what I mean by that?
Right.
Genuine question there, good friend. So, I think that it's going to be interesting because here's the deal. Even if the Congress wants to invoke the war powers vote and this, that, and the other, right? I think that people have to understand that with a 47 to 53 split, 47 Democrat, 53 Republican in the Senate, they would need four defectors, because even if you create a tie, JD Vance is going to, vote to do whatever his massa tell him.
Right.
I think a lot of people are having a little bit, listen, we could take this so many ways. Like, I think a lot of people are having a hard time digesting the fact that their Republican slum god Pumpkin Face has taken us into a war while they've been trying to invoke, let's go Charlie Kirk, who I feel is deplorable as a human, but did not deserve to die. That's awful. But as his opinions go, deplorable. I don't, it's not that I just disagree with you. It's that half of the things you believe are completely inhumane to anyone that doesn't look like you, for God's sakes. But on the flip side of that coin, though, I will say that it's insane to watch like this Republican Party try to memorialize somebody who literally would be on the grandstand saying we need to elect a new Republican leader based off of going to war. Dead ass. So I think it's crazy that there's so much to unpack here, though. I mean, there's so many little things. Like I said, there's like the Charlie Kirk angle, that this dude was very much an anti-interventionist and an anti foreign wars person, right? And you're trying to memorialize this guy and invoke this guy and this, that, and the other, and then at the end of the day, you're, I would say, to his hardcore followers, completely trashing his name, because while I diametrically oppose to deplorable thinking that doesn't treat everybody in the room as somebody who can have an equal opportunity and opinion in the situation, you a fuck ass to me. That's fine. But within who your opinion was, you were very anti-war. We could agree there. See, what people don't realize is even someone who you think is a total fuckhead, right? Vice versa. He would have not agreed with me on a lot of stuff. I don't have a problem with gays, trans, or women doing anything. So right there's a cutting, like a what would you call it, like a diametrical cutting point for him, right? But for me, as an example, and I'm trying to give credit where credit's due to make a point here, Chris, that for someone like me, he and I would agree on anti-war. I'm not an anti-interventionist. Sometimes you do have to intervene, and we're going to talk about that, Chris, here in a second. But what I will say is he and I would gain common ground on, I don't prefer to go to war with people. And I don't prefer, especially being somebody who is a young adult raising children in the Bush era, hoping not to get snatched away with a draft, right? Although they would have took me, Chris, because the truth is, what draft? I went down to the recruiter's office. I got sent home over a knee problem, right? So let's be honest. I was like, please take me to die. Like every kid born after that moment is like, bro, you could have killed us. And that, like I said, like that, like us, because they were still part of me at that point. You could have killed us.
Right.
Anyway, because my youngest son would have, or my oldest son would have already been born, because he was born a few days after high school. There's no way getting around that one. He'd have been here. Too easy. Now, Chris, my point and angle is this. I could sit down with a man who I'm diametrically opposed to for his views, from all kinds of things. Everything from education, you can name it, man. First institutionalized religion. I mean, by God, man, we could go on for days that half of his beliefs are actually anti-U.S. Constitution, and he'd actually literally want the Constitution changed to invoke his stuff. You guys should have really looked into these people before you just go being cool with them or not. Because when I looked into it, I was like, dude, this is fucking batshit stuff. This isn't even democratic. This is not the democratic American Constitution level stuff. Half of this is actually against half of the stuff in the Bill of Rights and the amendments. Dead ass.
Right.
And half of it's totally for it. Isn't that weird how it works?
It's kind of twisted like that.
He and I could have a conversation that I'm pretty sure that he was so Second Amendment that me having a pot license would not offend him that I had a Glock license. You see what I'm saying? You see what I did there? My point is this. Even with all the reasons why he and I could not agree on stuff, he and I could go after the president side by side over taking us to war. Because even somebody who I'm diametrically opposed with 95% of every fucking thing they believe, pretty much, right? That 5% leaves room for, I don't believe in war. You and I both should be able to own a gun, whether the fuck or not I have, a weed license, right? So those little things, right? By the way, the Supreme Court's taken up a case surrounding that. We'll see where that goes, and we'll come back to that probably sometime after the spring break is. By the way, did you realize the solstice was so soon?
Yeah.
Or not the solstice. That's technically later. But the time change, bruh. Did you realize it was so soon?
On the 8th.
Why are we still doing this fucking ass shit? I thought we Joe Biden that and voted it out. No offense, but no one else in the Republican Party is like, I don't even give a fuck about that to even deal with it. So we tried to get the Democrats to do it, and we thought we dealt with it, and we thought that they said this shit is egregious, but it stopped at just saying this shit's egregious, and then now we're at war. Look at look at everything. Look, you see how everything is ruined by war. Anything I say, Chris, I got ruined by going to war.
Yeah. Because you know why they started daylight savings?
Farm kids, if I remember right, has something to do with that.
It had to do with war.
Wait, what? What is it good for? Absolutely nothing, son. No, I'm just playing. I love you,
man. If I remember history correctly, I do believe daylight savings time was due to don't quote me, but I think it was World War II.
Don't quote me, bitch. No, I'm just playing.
Here, I'll look it up real quick, but I'm pretty sure it was started because of, we had to build shit.
Well,
so it extended the daylight hours for workers.
Look here, research and development department, fucking find out for us, okay? But I do feel like it had something to do with farming too, like making sure that kids were
Yeah,
able to get up early enough to get their chores done before they went to school. I promise you, it has something to do with that as well. Regardless, I
daylight
guarantee.
daylight saving time was primarily implemented to conserve energy and fuel for war efforts during World War One.
Son of a
Uh,
bitch. Well, okay,
yep.
kudos to you, but tell me there's at least a mention of something regarding what I said. Make me feel good.
Uh,
That didn't sound very
the
confident. Maybe
U.S.
I'm gonna feel bad.
Well,
Actually, you made me
I'm
feel
trying to skim through this. The goal was to maximize daylight hours to reduce fuel consumption for lighting and heating. Formalized while used intermittently, it was a uniform act in 1966, which established a uniform twice yearly nationwide change.
Can we just
Yeah, nothing about. I would imagine it helped.
okay, so listen. There have been, honestly, if it was just a bitch fit, let me be real, okay? Like, I think it's only fair to be fair. You know how much I feel about being authentically fair. Even if we disagree with something, being authentically fair is, I think, a fair play to go at that. So before we get back to the war and before the station identification, I'll say this. I if there hadn't been studies done that proves that this is actually really awful for a human being, right? If that hadn't been done and we didn't have all this data about everything from like the 2 weeks after now this has nothing to do with fallback. It has more to do with spring forward. The 2 weeks that
Yep.
we spring forward and lose the sleep, car crashes increase. Productivity in work is impacted. I mean, they have studied everything you can fucking think of, Chris. It's not good for a human to just change randomly and get up an hour difference. If anything, you let the daylight wake you up and it slowly will just roll you back naturally by 5 minutes a day. And by the way, if you don't know that, daylight changes by about sunset changes by about 5 minutes a day, Chris. You can look me up. Hey, you know what, Chris? Look it up. See if I might actually get something right on today's show.
All right, I'm on it.
I think it's like a right around
Uh,
5 minutes. I mean, listen, don't quote me on the seconds if it gets down to the, nerd science here. You're like, pi is not just
Nerd science.
3.14. There's like a whole string of numbers that goes on for fucking ever. I promise you. This is my example of check my shit. It's going to be 5 minutes though, roughly, I think. The only reason I know this is because I have done photo shoots and music videos, and I'm also a nerd, but the photo shoots and music videos have really lended me the insight of roughly about how much daylight changes each day, literally, at least where I live, which is roughly about 5.5 minutes every day. It's going to be earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier. The sunset going into the winter, and later, 5 minutes later, going after the winter equinox
Okay,
or
you're
solstice.
close.
What?
You're close.
Come on, hit me.
All right. What it says is right after the winter equinox, we roughly gain 1 to 2 minutes per day initially, accelerating to over 3 minutes per day by late February.
Huh. So my like 4 to 5 minute thing must be like when I would normally be doing photo shoots, which would be in the summer. Like how much? Let's tell me how many minutes of daylight you gained in, you know, June. Just curious. Did a lot of photo shoots in like May, June, July, August. Those are the best. Like those are the best lighting with the best blooms and the best. I mean, I've done winter stuff, but it sucks. I did a music video in the winter. Freezing.
Mhm.
Anyway.
No minutes, no minutes are gained after June. In fact,
Oh,
daylight decreases for the
oh, duh.
for
You're
the
right.
six
It's after the spring equinox, or
for, for the 6 months following the summer solstice around
yeah. It,
June
it,
20
it keeps it keeps
21st.
going up, and then it just starts going backwards again. That's all. That's all I really
Yep.
know. And there might even be a
Yep.
teetering moment where we pause out and don't like gain or lose anything for a few minutes. You know what I mean? Well, listen, Holmes. So, real quick here, before we go back to the war, let's do this.
This is your station.
I like this right here.
The People's Station. Monuments, Falcon, and Colorado Springs.
Here comes the heat, y'all.
And Michigan and all kinds of other places.
Yeah, Canada even switched. They finally said they're changing one last time, and that's it.
Like, this is dumb as fuck. This should be us, but instead of changing daylight, we're out here trying to change regimes. And that brings us to the second half of our show. Well played, right?
Yes.
So
Bravo.
anyway, so many of their cars like, this dude's a dick, but I might like him. I'm not sure yet. So, I think that another thing that, an angle I'd like to bring up before we get into any updates just during the show regarding this war and this unfortunately, what you have to understand is there's a good chunk of people in Iran that they're just like, they're like, we bombed a couple buildings, now go overthrow your government. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So I've got a couple of gripes. It takes weapons and funding and money to fund a, let's say, CIA regime overthrow, regime change, whatever you want to call it, right? It takes a lot of money, which brings me to where are my tariff dollars going to go?
Yeah.
So when we we deserve that money back from the U.S. government, I'm like, are we ever going to get it? Because these are $1 trillion wars that they get us into for decades at a time. And they're like, this ain't going to be an endless war. And I was like, you don't have a good plan. I mean, honestly, I don't think you actually have a real plan, because if you were thinking regime change, let me give you an example of how intelligent I really am about the geopolitics behind this, dude. If you were actually interested in regime change, then why didn't you fund and weaponize, let's go, the Kurdish separatists in the north?
Yeah.
Or by the Iraq border or whatever, right? Or Syrian border. Why didn't you give them money? Maybe it's not Syrian border. I might think about wrong country, but you get what I'm saying. But why did you not fund them, these Kurdish Iranian separatists that have no desire to be ruled by an authoritarian Muslim government, right? Why didn't you help fund them? Something, right? And they're like, right now they're talking about, the CIA is trying to flip the script on folks. And I'm like, how in the fuck are you going to do that without money and weapons? The one thing about people who really do study these things, who really read about them, Chris, who really dude, I tell people all the time, you should read like a Tom Clancy novel where everything works and it's, come on, you get what I mean with that, right?
Yeah.
And the guy gets the girl in the end, but then you should also check out the real facts, like what happens in war, like how complicated regime change is. And then if the regime change that is instituted does not, let's say, make the people happy, it could go back the other way in a in another direction.
Very negative way.
Yeah. Or further into authoritarian religious regime, who wants to nuke us?
Right, because if even like in those places, even though you take out the so-called top person, there's always someone right behind him ready to take over.
Exactly, bro.
Well, especially with the same ideologies, the same regime thoughts, they have people that are underneath them, just like we have vice presidents and Congress, and
Okay.
stupid. They may not make the smartest decisions either, but I mean, ultimately, look who's running the show right now for us. It's like a bad coach on a football team.
Okay, fair play.
That doesn't even know the sport, but he's coaching it.
Oof, that's actually a really good analogy. That hurts my feelings. Like, look, okay,
Just saying.
rarely am I going to turn to you and look you dead in the face and mean it this time, right? I'm going to say it this way, right? Rarely am I going to turn to you and look you dead in the fucking face and say that I will actually would be better at conducting the literal strategic strike plans over
Right.
certain individuals, almost literally nearly anyone in the White House. I'll say it that way, and I mean it. Like, dude, I literally played Axis and Allies as like an 8-year-old and used to beat grown military men that are supposed to know strategy. When I tell you I'm like fit for that, I play chess when other people play checkers, brother. But no, I think that's another good analogy, though. Is I think we have
Yeah.
someone at the helm who only knows how to play checkers, and this shit takes chess, like maybe even 3D chess.
Yeah, right.
Chris, are we going to get another endless war?
I mean, uh, I think regardless of what we think war really is, we're always in some type of conflict with another country in one way or another. Um, I mean, because we've already determined like war is more than just, shooting bombs at each other. You have cyber war, you have psychological war, and uh, political war, you have financial war.
Facts. And worse, you have, like, oh man, there's, look, space war,
Yeah.
technology wars. Do you know, I mean, basically the Cold War was like a 50-year technology like blitz. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was who had the most money to spend to become the most technologically advanced military wise. Who could have the biggest bomb? And oh, I can throw mine further than yours.
Yep. Okay. So let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. So, um, they're talking about let's hit them in the face, punch them in the mouth, kind of like at the start of the Iraq war. But then after that, what's your plan? Um, I go back to what Senator Mark Kelly said, what she had to make a valid point that you can't reduce the military arsenal. When I told you I'm an avid reader, what I tell people is I bring some pretty valid points to the table, but I can tell you it's because one, yeah, I get it. I get things. I understand things. I get how things work. Like I go back to playing like strategy board games. And by the way, I have Axis and Allies on my phone to this day because I still love that game and on my tablet. Because I still like learning. I still like blowing up. Look, here's the truth. I still like blowing up Nazis and the Japanese while trying to defend the British, American, and who was the other ally? Oh yeah, and the Chinese home front. I almost forgot who my ally was. I tried to switch China to the other side, just see what happened. Let's just say it didn't go well for me, and we'll leave it at that. You need a friend over there, man. You need a friend over there.
Yeah.
Now it's Japan. Before it was China. Before that, it was Japan. Actually, in World War One. Funny enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, Japan would have been on our side in World War II and not Nazis because they knew that they didn't have a place and a space in their future world, right? But the problem is, man, we really fucking hurt their feelings with how we treated them. We gave them like what most people don't know is that after World War II was or World War One rather, I'm sorry, was over. They didn't get a seat at the table during the breakdown of how things were going to happen, what Germany's concessions were, things of that nature, right? Like, they didn't get much of a say so in any of that, right? And
Yeah, because
go
wasn't
ahead.
that about the time the UN started?
No, that was after World War II.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, the United Nations was built because of the
Yes.
essentially because of what happened. Like, look, we was like, look, we have to make a deal with the devil. I think this might be what we're doing with Israel and Netanyahu is making a deal with the devil because at the end of the day, that gets rid of a bigger problem, Iran. And while we don't want to really get into and fight Israelis' wars, I think that's legitimately what's the word I'm thinking of? Negligent, legitimately negligent to be trying to fight Israel's wars in the Middle East. But what I will tell you is that Iran, listen, think about this, guys. Think about this. Where's my map? Son of a bitch. What did I do with my stupid map of the war zone? Well, no, I need a world map for a reason. Just shut your face, okay? Shut your stupid face. Because when I have the world map, I can kind of explain like what I'm trying to get at better. Does that make sense? So anyway, let me.
Not to throw you off, but I can envision you standing there and pulling down a world map, like from the old school classroom
Oh,
roll.
I wish that'd be so fun.
I could so see you doing that.
So you got to worry about like separatists and this, that, and the other from everywhere from Syria to Lebanon, even Iraq, Jordan, etc. Right? I don't think Israel wants no part of it. A lot of these countries that don't want to be like, hey, I'm not fighting. Look, you guys got to understand how serious religious like I ain't fucking with you is. Okay, it's serious. So some countries are like, look, I ain't finna fucking fight for these Jewish people, but fuck them ninjas too. You know what I mean? Like literally though. Does that make sense? So, I think that because Chris, you have some countries that have already declared neutrality in this conflict already. They're like, look, we don't like them. We actually aren't particularly fond of you, but them motherfuckers can't have no nukes. So do what you got to do, but I don't want no part of it.
All right. I have an update 7 minutes ago. U.S. Embassy in Dubai hit.
No, I did see that, and I haven't. I think that might be the embassy that was. I think that might be the embassy that Marco Rubio had already been on the news saying that everybody's accounted for, nobody injured. They're saying no one was hurt in the airbase bombing. By the way, I did catch an update on that. If you want to throw out updates, they're saying that no one was injured in the airbase bombing. Now, if something changes later, you can't blame me. We're talking. This is like 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern, U.S. Standard Times, pre-daylight savings, which we previously bitched about.
Right.
I don't even think that matters, but I'm just throwing it out there for fun. I mean, maybe it does matter. Maybe they're like, well, we don't change times, so you fuckers are fucking us up. You know, like, because that's how I feel anyway. Like out in Arizona, when my work would be like, well, we're doing business in Texas also, so you know, when they all decide to switch times because they're fucking dumb, you now have to come to work an hour earlier. Yeah, I used to hate that shit. And the other thing was, you're like, well, but you do get to go to work an hour later in the fall, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm stuck at work an hour later too, you dumb bitch. Yeah. Like pick a lane so I just know when I get off work. So, you know, it's funny, the one that's actually doing it right, Arizona as an example, just in daylight savings for some of you dicks out there. That's what I'm speaking of. But for them at least doing that right, they pay the price because if you're doing business in other areas, and let's say it's like I do business at 5 a.m. West Coast time, and then I have to move into the mountain time zone. So now I do business at 6 a.m. Okay. And then vice versa on the other flip of the year, you know? And it's annoying. It's so annoying. So Chris, I guess my question is what like where what is the end game? Like even I am not coming to the table. Like listen, President of the United States, you know, if we ever fall apart, I might be able to find like a low key like United Colorado, I don't know. You know, Colorado country, lad. I might find myself in a defense director role. And the first thing I'm fucking doing is coming to my people like, hey, listen, we finna fuck these motherfuckers up over in Kansas. But let me tell you something. I got an end plan. Otherwise, why are we fucking with their cornfields? Come on now. You see what I'm saying? No end game.
Right.
Kansas over here like, bro, we liked you. Garden City's like, we used to listen to you on your AM, bro. What's wrong with you? Why'd you attack us? It was a metaphor, an analogy, an example. No, you have to have an end game. And I think that that's something that's really, honestly, if there's something that's been weighing on my mind, dormant there is what's the end game? I actually, look, shocker. I used to be a Republican, and I actually don't trust the Iranian authoritarian Ayatollah, what the fuck ever. I don't trust that government. I think that religious rule is psychopathia, but hey, America, oh, watch out, bitch. And I believe that when you think you have a right to tell people what to believe and how to live like day by day, that's authoritarian, that's communism. Just with the guise of religion, that's what's going on in Iran. I'm sorry if you don't like that, then maybe you need to go somewhere where that's cool, because it ain't cool here. Here we believe in the freedom of speech, not only the freedom of speech, but the freedom to talk about the problem. So I'll say this: I do not disagree with. Look, bro, if you had a chance to drop a ballistic missile on the top of fucking Hitler's head, you'd do it in 5 seconds. You wouldn't think about it. You do it. It doesn't matter if it engages us in a war at all cost. You take that motherfucker out. So this is a Hitler of the Middle East. So think about when you're so bad that all the other Middle Eastern countries weren't even going to get involved in it, and you bombed them anyway, and now they're involved in it. Chris, they literally made the biggest misstep you could make, and it was on day one when they hurled missiles at their neighbors instead of just at Americans.
Right.
If you'd have just hurled them at American bases, you might have got away with that one. Then like, look, bitch, I know they here trying to make some money off these hoes. That's how bases work. Let's be honest. I'm trying to make some money off these hoes. You know, deal with it, bitch. Whatever. But like when people go, why do we suck the Saudis' dick? You're finding out right now. You're finding out right now. I hate it. You're finding out right now. There's so much bad about this. And I think the thing that's, they're like, this is just a small thing. There's not going to be, any U.S. troops. Then it's, well, there might be some troops on the ground and people have already died, and I'm just like, dude.
We have 50,000 men and women.
Under here, Dick.
We have 50,000 men and women over there that are.
Oh my George! I don't see any weapons of mass destruction either. Are we doing this again? Are we fucking doing this again? Irritated. So, I guess this is my moment to explain to you that I had to eat crow this weekend. So I was at a family event.
Uh-oh.
And I've been urging one of my sons to go into the National Guard or the military because he just really, doesn't really have like what's the word I want to say?
Foundation?
A foundation, yeah. And also like a little bit of structure, a little bit of self-discipline. And then I think he lacks a bit in like having an idea of what he wants to do in the long term. Like at his age, you got to have bro, I could be dead in 5 or 10 years. But I could be.
Right.
So I've got a 5, a 10, and a 15-year plan. That's the real deal, McCoy. After that, we'll see what happens. And I'm constantly adjusting year by year to get what I want in life, right? And out of life what I want. Instead of just slaving away for some rich dude who wants a yacht. Just dead ass. So I think that when you're young like that, you gotta have like a 20-year plan. Like in 20 years from now, what's my goal? Am I going to at least have, my house paid on for 5 years? Did I save up for 10? How many kids do I want, if any, by then? That kind of shit. Like you need to know, you have an idea at least. And then don't always yield to like what another person wants. Like your spouse and you aren't on the same page. Don't just be like, I'm cool with that because you like her cooter. You need to be like, I have a position, and vice versa. Just because you're getting dick down doesn't mean you need to be like, yep, we can do whatever you want. So,
well, yeah, that's why they call it compromise.
Inequality in a relationship, unlike the Taliban, who says you can beat your wife as long as you don't break any bones or leave any marks. Yeah, I read that article. It about made me sick to my stomach. Look,
you're right.
Am I cool with going to war with Iran? No. Do I understand what? Okay, so so first off, I believe 100% that Israel pulled us into this war and that Trump is a fucking puppet for Netanyahu. I'm just going to throw that out there. The second thing is, I believe that
especially in the Middle East.
can Trump be right? Maybe, but only if he somehow manages to keep this thing under like a month and a half, 6 weeks, I'll give you, right? Is that going to happen? Fuck no.
Probably not.
Fucking no.
Probably not.
You're not, dude, we're going to be in another fucking endless war. But I will tell you one thing. Yo, America. Vote or die, bitch. No, I'm just trying to remember that South Park episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, but
But and
seriously,
seriously though, I
like you
mean,
might die
think
though.
about
You want your kids to go die in the Middle East? Like, and like, listen, they didn't let me go, but I was dumb enough to almost let myself go get killed over there. We lost,
right.
hurt, injured, mentally destroyed, physically damaged, literally going from 2003 until 2000 and like what 20. We're talking about 17 years, dude. 2.5 generations.
Yeah, that's crazy. And all that money wasted
Bro, I
for
woke up
what?
Sunday morning. I was like, Mama Bear was like, "Did you see the news?" And I was like, "Girl, you don't fuck with the news on Sunday. Get out of here. I don't even watch my Sunday fucking politics shows anymore. I just get pissed off and because half of them are full of
Yeah.
shit. But I like some of them, the ones I
It,
like. I'm like, bro, I'm gonna let you slide on that because I need you to win. But I know what you really said there, and it was
yeah, right.
still better with the other asshole I don't like said, but Chris, are we in trouble? The I don't want to go to war president, basically, right, is now tried to create a war in Venezuela. And honestly, I think the Maduro capture thing really and regime change, which in Venezuela would be candy cakes and puppies on the dollar compared to the Middle East, right? With hardline
Right.
separate with separatists, but then hardline supporters of the Ayatollah, right? Um, we're talking decades, 30 years, 30, 40, almost 50 years since the Ayatollah took over in Iran, right? So we're talking about like 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5 generations of institutionalized Ayatollahism, and then the opposite side of not wanting to fucking live like this anymore. There's a lot, dude. I'll say this. If Trump can find a way to actually not fuck this up and finish this in 6 weeks, I don't see how. Listen, you have not presented an end game any way, shape, or form valid. Do you understand?
Yeah, you're merely giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Benefit of the doubt moment here. See, I can give guys, I can give a fucking scarecrow the benefit of the doubt. Suck it. That was a good pumpkin head joke. But no, seriously, like him or love him, hate him or not, just not even care, but whatever. What I'll say is this. If I were in the president's shoes, if you can finish this without using even tactical nukes, and you can settle this without really reducing the military arsenal to a point where we're just bait for China, facts. If you can do these things, I think that you could literally boost the Republicans in the midterm. And maybe that's what this is about, to either one, distract from the midterms, or two, boost the midterms if we get it right. And I think that either way, they have nothing to lose. We either boost the midterms or we can try to use the war to distract from them. But I think that the American public today is just such a different American public than it was in 2003 and 2002. So different than when we went to war in Afghanistan. So, I mean, abundantly different, and the access to your fucking lies different than when we went to war in Iraq, right? And I think that that's why the president is trying to do anything he can to conduct these strikes without congressional approval, because any long-term war would have to be voted on by Congress. And then if these Republicans, let's say hypothetically, would vote to just let the president do what he wants and give him the ability to conduct war, then I do feel like that would be a really bad idea by Republicans. Because here's why. That's going to work out great for you until November of this year when several districts will be flipped just because you went to war. Dude, do you realize that like 18, well, they wouldn't be 18 today, but today they'd be, 19 or 20. But 19 to 20-year-old up to 30-year-old men voted for this specific administration because they did not believe this administration would get them in a war where they would get taken away from their families to go fight it, right? And so, Chris, how do you unpack that a good chunk of, young white, black, and brown men between the ages of roughly right now 19, 20 years old up to 30 years old who literally helped elect this president, but only because he wasn't going to send them to war, now may send them to war. Do you think there's repercussions for that?
Yeah, I definitely think there's repercussions for that, but you also have to think about the whole debacle with this uh voting situation that he's created prior to this, where he's ultimately trying to make it considerably difficult for our men and women in the military to vote, merely because they're overseas active duty. And
I
it's
don't care where you are on this
ludicrous.
planet with today's systems and abilities, these people can vote and they should be allowed to vote. They're literally over
Yes,
there keeping what we do. Literally, I'll flip the
safe.
they're
Right.
literally keeping what we do safeguarded in a sense, right? You don't always have to agree. Listen, you do not always have to agree with this mission by mission. But the U.S. military's presence overseas 100% is a deterrent towards conflict in a lot of places. And in some places, the only fucking deterrent away from conflict, right? So I would
Absolutely.
be just dismayed. I'd lose my fucking mind if service members couldn't vote simply because they can't be here in the US at that time. And I know what you're getting at, Chris, and you're really trying to get my blood boiling. And I'm like, you know how I feel about that. Like, how the fuck are the very people that are on the front lines of defending our very way of life, regardless
Yes.
if you believe in it mission by mission? I'm going to say that one more time. Why the fuck
Right.
would you ever taint their ability to vote? By God, who does that?
A dictator.
This is as bad as when they were shipping kids that were 18 fucking years off to Vietnam. And they're like, listen, I'm not saying I don't want to go. I'm not saying I want to go. What I'm saying is, you guys are sending me, and I don't even have the lawful ability to vote. So you're telling me that I'm dumb enough to die, or excuse me, smart enough to die,
Not
smart enough
gonna
to operate
die.
heavy weapons, and smart enough, intelligent enough, and grown up enough to kill people. But I ain't smart enough to pick a name on a piece of paper.
Right.
That's what that is reminiscent of.
Very, very, very much so. You but yeah, even though these, men and women in Congress, um, haven't been involved in, the going forward with this war that we're having, I mean, I think ultimately they're still going to have issues come midterm time because there's a lot of Republican families that have kids and mothers and daughters and fathers that are in the military that are going to be facing that exact question. You told us you weren't going to send us to war. Why are we going?
Do you want to send your do you want to send your
And
kid
you,
another, like I said, do you want to send another couple generations or three generations or so? Because I figure about roughly 6 years or 7 years will change a generation. Like my two sons aren't exactly alike. One of them comes from a group that was just a slightly harder working than the next round. And they're about
right,
6, 7 years apart. And while there's a lot in common there, and real generation is like my sons are both from the same generation, but not really from the same sort of group. It's like the difference of me being born in 81 and someone being born in 91, still being from the same generation, but hardly, man. You're like early junior high at late elementary school at best when I graduated high school. It's going to take you another 5 years to even get to maybe get what I'm going through in college at that moment. And by those 5 years later, I'll be out of college and having a family. You'll be 15. You don't get it. We're not from the same generation. Get out of here with that. They've been trying to put like 20-year splits on a generation. I'm like, maybe more like 10. That's
Right.
maxed. Anyway, Chris,
It's been
when we
great.
come back next week, crazy headlines,
Crazy.
lots of fun to go about it. I got to tell you, I'll do anything I can to help. When we like any show we do, as this thing goes on, we'll try to at least spend a few minutes trying to maybe give you guys what we can, but not get too crazy with it
Right.
because we got other stuff we got to do. This is important. This is even more important than probably anything we've been covering since probably the January 6th riot and crimes. Basically, I think this might be,
Yeah.
honestly, the whole thing with Israel and even Ukraine getting attacked, that's still not directly our issue, right? So I would go back to probably the January 6th, thugs and criminals breaking into a government building and it getting so serious that someone dies. A couple different people ended up dying, but that's probably the most traumatic thing up until now. I'm a child of war, and what I mean by that is we were stationed overseas during the first Iraq War, and my dad left to go to war, and that profoundly changed me too. I had to grow up a lot that first year after he left. Dead ass, dude.
So you
I didn't really get to be a kid anymore.
you
My dad
un-
was gone.
yeah, you
2
understand
years.
the effects of that part of what war does to a family.
Yeah, it's not good. After my dad came back, my parents made it probably a year, if that, before they got divorced.
Right.
Pretty sad.
Yeah.
Pretty sad, actually.
Sorry, bro.
Wars destroy families without even the family being in the war zone.
Right.
People come back and they're not the same. They're different. It's really unfortunate. It's really sad, but it is the dead ass truth. And I am absolutely glad that I didn't. And my son was like, I'm just not somebody who wants to go be told to kill somebody. Good. You know what? I told my oldest boy, I said, maybe we got it wrong with your brother. He was actually telling me, no, he shouldn't do that. But anyway, when I say we, I was really just trying to go under the bus with somebody else. But I told him, I said, this is where you have to have the humility to admit when you're wrong. I
Right.
don't think I had it right. I don't want my son to go to the Middle East and die. I just want him to be a little tougher, a little bit more resilient, and maybe just a little more squared away. But I definitely don't want you going overseas to die. And I realize that, like some people are just, he has his problems, but he's actually a really sweet guy. And it's like, man, maybe you're not cut out for being the military. Maybe they'll just, maybe they'll turn you into a total fuck ass anyway. Maybe I got it all wrong. And I don't want you to ruin my kid. I just want you to make him a little tougher. But if you turn him into someone I don't recognize and he's not a nice person anymore, then did I get it right? These are the questions, dude. I tell people all the time, these are the questions that really do genuinely keep me up at night. Like, did I dodge one? Am I getting it right? And what I'm saying really going to help this individual and be authentic towards what they need, but not without destroying them as a human or ruining the things I love about them? Like literally, these are the things that keep me up at night.
It's like,
And every time Cammy has a headache for more than 24 hours, I'm like,
do I install this program or don't I?
That too. How can I solve world hunger with an app? Seriously, little things. Just the little things in life I worry about. That's all. Nothing serious. Anyway, let's get out of here. Chris, listen, America at war, I don't know what to say except Jesus criminy. I don't want another generation of war children and another generation of young men who can't cope, who can't get by, and who can't, really just function in a world that destroyed them. Do you understand what I mean?
And
I just don't want to see that. I watched it for 20 years, man. I don't want to see it.
let's stay out of other countries' problems. Let's fix our own first.
Okay. And stop lying. Like, you
Yeah.
can't tell me that you're waiting for the regime change and then say it's not a regime change. You can't tell me that no one's going to die. And on day one,
People
fucking like 4
died.
people died.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, bro, just, you know what? For all of you that did vote for this president, you voted for this. This is what you voted for. I don't care if you tell me that's not what I voted for. Yes, you did.
You did. Yes,
When
you
individuals
did.
tell you crazy shit, you should listen to them and believe them, because maybe this person didn't say they was going to go to war with Iran, but when they are a loose cannon and a hothead and you already know that and you think that's cool,
The
that
power
might be cool
trip.
for 5 minutes when there's peace around the world.
Right.
But when real shit needs to be handled and real diplomacy is needed, a pissed off toddler with an attitude is not what's going to get you the diplomacy to end a war. So I'm extremely concerned. And I'm sorry if you like the guy, but I view this person as very immature, more of a pissed off, okay, maybe not a toddler, but more like a pissed off
he's
teenager
a toddler.
who's getting beat at war zone, like dead ass, like that kind of level of mentality, like anger issues level. No real concern for no one else. I mean, you act like an 18-year-old to 20-year-old who just graduated high school. You don't give a fuck about no one but yourself, and you got a fucking attitude. And that's just not the person that makes me comfortable if we are really going to permanently, or at least for the next 30 to 40 years, prevent Iran from really doing anything nuclear-wise. So change your regime, or else you're not allowed to have a successful country. I don't know if we're the people who should be just going around doing that. I think it puts a huge target on our back. At the same time, Chris, do you want Iran to get a nuke, and then the next thing they get is an intercontinental ballistic missile that can hit the U.S.? That's the next thing.
Yeah. I just think there's other ways to go about this type of stuff. I mean, needs to be better planning. This chaos wasn't, probably totally necessary, but like you said, I mean, these people voted for him. This is what you asked for. This is what you're getting. I mean, what did you expect? But let's get out of here.
Yep. As one atheist said, give all the religious people a nuke, but tell them they can only shoot them at each other, like the Vatican at
Right.
Mecca, like
Right.
whatever. I was like, you a cold bitch, bro, but I like what you did there. We out.
Hey, yo. Booming systems across Colorado.
To hear the crowd go.
We like the cars that go boom.
That means I'm chilling.
Lazy.